What's going on, people? Welcome back to AFTV. Welcome back to another Fan Zone. You know what Fan Zone is. It's Tuesday. It's time for you guys to get involved. It's very simple. In the conversation, all you got to do is download the AFTV Plus app, click on, and you can join us on screen. And we can talk about this. Incompetence or agenda? I know where I stand. I'm with incompetence side. I know a lot of people will say, Ty is more agenda. I know Arteta might even think it's part of an agenda. We're going to go through some of his comments as well. Turkish, I don't know where, I know you kind of stand this like, I don't even know where you kind of stand on this. Where do you stand on this whole, these refs are incompetent, or is it just an agenda on Arsenal?
No, it's not just an agenda on Arsenal.
Good.
It's not just an agenda on Arsenal.
You're not a fool.
Nah. Bro, we've seen worse decisions in other games this season. We've seen one of the worst decisions of referee in history in that Tottenham-Liverpool game. VAR, whatever you call it. So it's definitely not an agenda. It's just the standards are low. And there's no accountability for the standards.
100%. Now listen, for this live, right, for this this fan zone, and we want to speak to you lot, there is going to be a bit of moaning. I get that, because everyone's having this conversation. It's the topic around, most of football right now, about VAR, the PGMO, it's all around everywhere. But I kind of want to look to, I'm a solutions man. I don't mind berating a system or talking about it and getting angry and whatnot and ranting, but I do also want to try and have a healthy conversation about how do we fix these things, because I think there is a way. There's definitely solutions for this. There can't just be wrong decisions and wrong doings every week. It seems like it has been like that for a while, but we need to find a solution. Whether the PGMOL is ever going to listen to this or watch this, probably not. But at least I know I've done our part by trying to help and trying to find solutions. Now, there is a poll in the chat. Is Arteta right? Is it incompetence or an agenda against Arsenal? I've voted incompetence. It's going up as we're speaking. 47% say, 46% say incompetence. Agenda is 23%, and both is around 30%. Now, Arsenal, very annoyed at obviously what happened at Newcastle with the 1-0, the decision of the goal. And Arteta went on a actually quite an explosive rant after the game. This is very easy to see and watch. He was very angry with the decision making from the 3 VAR decisions, whether it's offside or pushing it back, or if the ball went out of play. The club has backed him on his rant after the game. They fully backed him, and they're even going to push it further by adding in, they're going to add in other issues that happened last season and seasons before to back, the case of the incompetence of PGMOL and the VAR. Now, we're going to start with one of them that they've alluded to that they're going to be bringing up, which is the 1-1 draw against Brentford. If you remember, we drew against them, but it was a wrongdoing. The VAR was wrong. We should have got 3 points in that game. Obviously, it was going for the title that it was last season. And I understand the frustration. That was a big big mistake. I actually don't think there was as much uproar as there should have been. It was kind of similar to the Liverpool-Tottenham one, but we should have been, I think, a bit more angrier. So they're doing that one. They're also alluding to Man United away. The Martinelli goal, that was obviously, there was a foul at the halfway line. It wasn't really a foul. I believe that was it. I was at the game. And again, it was wrong. The goal was wrongly disallowed. So they're going with that one as well. And the last one, the final one, was a Man City game. Even though we won that game, but the foul, the red card, should have been given on Kovacic. I mean, we was on the studio doing a watch along. He repeatedly fouled and still ended up staying on the pitch, Mateo Kovacic. So again, there's a lot of wrongdoings, a lot of mistakes made. And I want to be clear in this live to say, we aren't the only one. You just said it. It happens to all teams. We're not the only one. But there is a huge issue when it comes to the standard of refereeing, VAR, and just officials in general. And I don't want it to just be us berating them and being and going against them, because everyone's having this conversation. Again, I want to look at solutions. I spoke about it. I laughed. I called it eagle eye, but it is Hawkeye. They can have that for each line of the pitch. They don't just have to have goal line technology. I believe we have the money, we have the capabilities to enforce that across the whole pitch, to know if a ball went out or not. And I know there's been people online laughing at us as fans saying it stayed in, just deal with it. But we can have the technology that can literally resolve that decision in a second by having Hawkeye. That's one solution for me. And then again, the 3D VAR for offside, we turned that down. The Premier League have turned it down. I don't know why they turned it down. It just makes things so much clearer. Instead of trying to draw lines, zoom in, say there's not a camera for that angle, so we can't draw the line. We've turned down a system that has worked, and I've watched it work, so I don't know why we've turned that down. And then incompetence of refs, what's the answer? Do we go foreign? Do they get enough punishment? I feel like refs, I don't know, for you, Turkish, just talk on refs quickly. Do they, because they can make mistakes, and Same with managers. They could do really bad at a club and pick up another job in the league. It's the weirdest business ever, football. You can do that. Referees, they can be wrong. Sometimes they get demoted down to the Championship, but you can find them back in the Premier League in a couple of... It's like, are the punishments harsh enough? Should they be doing interviews after games? Like, what? Tell me, is there a solution in your mind that referees to improve them at all in this country?
I think there's solutions to improve. There's not solutions to fix it, because there's always going to be some sort of human error element to it, even with VAR in there. But look, on the sympathetic side of things, the rule making is also a big part of the problem.
Ooh,
so the referees are confused themselves. So punishment for some of the decisions that you've mentioned, the Liverpool one, the Brentford one, not drawing line. That's incompetence.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. So punishments for that, are they strong enough? Probably not. But really and truly, the rules confuse even the refs. Even myself now, who's watched football for years, used to play football, obviously not high level, used to play football. We couldn't go on a pitch and referee a game now. Would look like fools as well, even though we know football.
Yeah.
But we don't know the rules like that, and they change year in, year out. So these referees are confused.
Yep.
They're under pressure, and they're fucking up. Now, what solution is there to that? I think in the VAR room, there should be an ex-player involved. Obviously, the ex-player should have nothing to do with the two teams involved in that game. I think that's very easy to do.
Yeah.
And an ex-player can give a different perspective. If we take the Newcastle one, for example, an ex-player might look at the Gabriel and Joe Linton example and say, that is a foul. Two hands. I've been in that situation. I know that's a foul. But then again, the ex-player might also agree with the referee or the professional and say, no, it's two hands. There's no pushing attempts. You can't see no thrust there. It's just two hands on the back, and
that's it.
That's all it is. But at least the ex-player has been in those moments.
Would there be bias from an ex-player though? Is that where they might draw lines? The referee people, the officials might be thinking an ex-player will have some sort of bias towards the team.
Why?
Or do you think there's? I don't know. I just
if it's Arsenal, Tottenham, then get a ex-player from wherever, bro, Blackburn or Burnley or something. I don't know.
Fair. That's just so a player that's played to a high enough standard, because it doesn't have to be a Premier League.
And if you're also holding them accountable to it, I doubt there's going to be bias there from an ex-Burnley player or an ex-Blackburn player, whoever it is in Arsenal, Tottenham. But let's say to eliminate that, more accountability on wrong decisions and silly decisions, not hiding behind a 5-letter PGMOL statement all the time.
Will the ex-players' identity have to be hidden though? Would they have to not announce who the ex-player is, or would you say, no, forget that?
No, you announce. That's part of it. That's part of the pressure.
Okay.
So that will completely eliminate any bias. Firstly, you pick an ex-player from a club that's got nothing to do with the two clubs.
Yep.
Yeah, you must know a bit of background to them, who they used to support or something.
Cool.
You do your due diligence. I think football, there's enough money in it now for them to, take due care and attention and to detail and all that. Yeah, bring them in, and that's another perspective. And then you have a mix of perspectives, at least in the VAR room, that can, both provide their angle on it and come to hopefully a conclusion.
That's the thing. I'm just trying to think of all. I want to go look at every angle of this. Obviously, of course, that can happen. But then, do you think there'll be a situation where, and this is something they might have to overcome, where the ex-player is arguing with a VAR expert, shall we say, and it prolongs the decision being made? Because I think everyone keeps talking about it's the wait time. I'm not actually worried about the wait time, by the way, when I'm in the ground. But that might just be my personal experience. I don't know if you get frustrated by it, because there could be a point where you have an ex-player and, like I said, a VAR expert that says, well, no, I think this, and it might prolong the wait time. Or do you just think, as long as they come to the right decision, I don't care? Or would you say...
I don't like any of it. I mean, I don't like the fact that when a goal goes in and I feel like there might be someone a touch offside, or there might be a foul in that, I can't really celebrate wholeheartedly because I know it's going to be up for review. That's the worst thing about it.
That's jarring, I can't lie.
And it's become a subconscious part of me watching football now. If I do think, that one's tight, and we score a goal, I'm gassed, but it's like, I know they're going to check this, so let me see what's going on. So I think that's partly ruined not only match-going fans' experience. I feel like even if you're watching it on TV or anything, it's the same thing. You just want to go in and that's it. If the referee ain't blowing his whistle and the lino ain't got his flag up, that's it. There's no computer somewhere, assessing the situation. I'd prefer to go back to that, to be honest.
So do I, and I think players also probably ruin it for players as well. I think I mentioned this before. Our beautiful game is being destroyed, and I think that's how I feel at the moment. Like, I love this sport, but just the more of these things being added and the more pressure on referees and VAR, now they're checking every goal. So like you said, you can't even just enjoy a goal nowadays. You have to wait to celebrate. But that's your improvements for VAR. We'll get to the referees and that as well. You said, you can't fix it because there'll be human error always. And obviously I want to hear from the callers as well, their thoughts. But you mentioned something about the ruling. The ruling is also very confusing. And I'm so glad you brought that up. And I feel like sometimes the referees don't even understand the ruling. And the reason why I'm going to bring this up is because I got asked a question this week because I was just getting so infuriated with officiating. Now I want to ask you this, and all the listeners and all the watchers. If a free kick has been given, right? Hear me out here, follow me with this one. A free kick's been given. Now this obviously hasn't happened, it's very unlikely. A free kick's been given, it gets taken, but ends up in...
I've heard this.
You know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Damn. People watch The Chase, they'll know.
Yeah, James said it on the watch along, quoted The Chase as well.
I did not have a clue that if I'm going to, for the listeners and the people watching, just because I'm sure you're going to want to hear this and understand and know what I was going to go and say. If I have a free kick and I shoot it and it hits one of my players and ends up in my own goal, what is given? Okay, I know it's very unlikely. So if I have a free kick, I take it and it hits a player, but a Galactico kick, say, hits my own player and ends up in my goal, what is given? Now, you can let me know in the comments. But of course, I would have thought an own goal. And that's what I think majority probably would have gone with. However, the comments aren't coming in yet to give their answers. But I thought it would be an own goal. Then if not, I would have thought it would have been potentially an indirect free kick. But the decision what is given is it's a corner kick. That baffled me.
Yeah.
That absolutely baffled me. And I think there's many rules in, like you said, in the refereeing that maybe some of the referees don't understand or are not fully educated with. And not even just that. I even think there needs to be like a briefing. And I believe there is a briefing every year with referees, but a more in-depth one. So like everyone knows what the standard of the ruling is, because you're right. Bro, I've watched football for years. I've played football is my life. Yeah. But you see the handball rule, even to this day, there's still little things I can't make sense of.
Yeah, it's partly ruined the game, man.
It 100% has, and I just feel like that needs to be looked at as well. And no, that's not agendas. It's maybe not even incompetence, but there's a level of just, we want football to be how it used to be, but also have some of these technical advances. But I feel like with the pressure these referees have, though, by the way, Turkish, do you see the game going in a direction where there's no referees? It's just going to be not robots. I don't want to say robots. It's just done by technology.
There'll always be a ref.
Do you think?
Yeah, there'll always be a ref. Even if technology makes a decision behind the scenes and lets the ref know, there'll always be that human element.
Okay. Why do you say that? Just
it's not something that can be replicated. Like
having a
ref is heritage of football as well. As much as we're saying VAR's partly ruined it and we want to go back to the old way, you want a ref.
But do you? But
you just want a better
some
ref.
People argue.
The only reason we're talking about this now is because they're not
good,
adequate for the job.
But would that not force them out though? Because it's hard to. People don't want to be refs. It's not like some people aspire to be refs, but it's not like an appealing job. And on top of that, they're getting decisions wrong. So in my head, that equals no refs in the future game, but it's just run by technology. But you don't see that happen until you think it's part of football heritage. There has to be someone there.
Always be a ref.
Mad. I'll be intrigued to know what people think about that as well. And again, the lines are open. All you have to do is download the AFTV Plus app and join us, because I feel like there's plenty of conversations we can have around this, and that being one of them. Where do you see the game going? Because I think the beautiful game's being ruined, and I can't keep living with incompetence. People talk about foreign refs. Is that the answer? Is that the answer? Do the punishments need to be harsher for referees for them to get decisions right? I don't know if that's the case. Punishments being harsher. Do you, Turkish? Because I think that puts more scrutiny on them and more pressure. What betters the referee's decisions? What is the way to find things getting better?
There ain't no solution like that.
It's mad, isn't it?
There ain't no solution like that.
It's crazy.
Listen, we've got callers waiting. I think Ryan's on board already, so we might as well start taking callers.
Let's start taking people in and hearing what they have to say. Ryan.
Yes, big up you guys, man.
What's going on? You good?
Boy, oh man, the football, man. I just feel like your last point there, Cecile, I completely agree with. I just feel like football's being ruined right now. Like, I think this VAR right now, the key words of your title, the PGMO, incompetence or gender. And for me, I feel like I think it's a bit of both, to be honest. But the reason why I'd lean more to incompetence is because it's just the referees right now with managing in the Premier League. It's their inability to get it's them showing like the lack of knowledge and skills to get the necessary decisions right in key games. And for me, it's not like we're just talking about it once every 4 or 5 weeks. It's every week. They're consistently getting decisions wrong. And part of me has kind of thought, should we turn to like getting in foreign referees to kind of analyze games from a different perspective? Because, you know, in Serie A, I watch Serie A like, I'll say once every 2 to 3 weeks, not every week. Yeah. But when I do watch their games, their technology that they have in their system, they have like a thing where they could just look at the system and kind of make a decision from all angles, like a side view, a bird's eye view. Yeah. And it takes me back to the Newcastle and Arsenal game over the weekend. There's so many different conspiracy theories in terms of people thinking, did the ball cross over the line or did it not? And for me, when you look at it from 2 different angles, I think personally the ball went over the line. And I was watching what you lot were saying on the Forever Arsenal Turkish with James and Lee Gunn and Jordan. And for me, you look at it from a bird's eye view, like the angle, even though they didn't show it on Sky Sports from a bird's eye view, the first angle where you look at it, it looks off, but then there's other angles on pictures that I've seen on Insta and etc. that they show it from the angle where they're looking across it and it doesn't look like it's off. But for me, because VAR hasn't got all the kind of camera angles that we should have with the technology and money that's in the Premier League now, this is why we have these debates and conversations. And it just makes me think there needs to be a lot more that needs to go on in the Premier League to not just help out us, but every team as well. And it's getting to the point where I do think there is a bit of an agenda against Arsenal, but then I also think there's an agenda with other clubs as well. So I can't just say one thing for Arsenal and then not keep the same energy for other football clubs as well, because it's depressing at times, guys. Like, I can't even lie, man.
I heard La Liga's got. I don't know if it was tongue in cheek. Actually, was it on the Big Six last night? I think one of the shows I've done recently, maybe Big Six or maybe the watch along. Yeah. In the comment section, a lot of people were saying La Liga's system or La Liga's refereeing standards are top notch at the moment. I don't know if that was people taking the piss. Let me know in the comments.
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I think with La Liga though, their leveling of refereeing has gone up a notch as well. And the only main times I kind of watch La Liga is if Barca's playing Real or one of them are playing Atletico, innit? I'll be real, I won't watch every game, but for me, I think we need to start bringing in Italian officials and referees. Just there needs to come. I think come the end of the season or like January, there needs to be a meeting within the boardrooms. And what frustrates me as well is that we don't get to hear referees' points of view. Come out and speak to us. Let us know what's going on within the game, because there's certain decisions that they're getting wrong where us fans, we're in the loop. We don't have a clue what they're thinking.
Okay, hold on. That's actually a very good solution. But is that post-match or are you saying in-game? Because there can be, the voices can be heard. I think, is it in rugby they do that? You can hear the referees' voices and conversations in-game. I don't know how it would work in the stadium because I don't think they can put it over the tannoy. But what do you want both, like post-match interviews with referees, or do you want in-game?
I'm thinking more. I think we kind of need it for the benefit of the English game and football in general in this country. I think we need it in-game, and especially after the game's done, because after the game is probably the most important value, I'd say, of us hearing from the referees, because we want to know, why have you not blatantly seen that decision when X, Y, and Z can see that it was blatantly the ball was in, or whether that handball should have been given. I'm just giving you different examples. But for me, we definitely got to hear from the referees after games, man, because it's going to cost us points. And I was watching Tottenham and Chelsea the game last night, and I was thinking there was about 3 or 4 incidences within that game where it's shocking to feel, man. They're going to cost teams points, man. And the thing is as well, yes, we've only played 11 games, but when it gets to the crunch stage of the season where it's February, March and April, where points really matter, we need some clarity, man. The technology needs to improve more. I'm all for having VAR, but at the same time, think to myself, Lee Judges was saying it on your Forever podcast, Turkish. Listen, if they scrapped it and said no VAR, they're getting so many decisions wrong. Now, is it really making a difference, guys?
Yeah.
No, it's made it worse.
I'd actually be fine with that. That's the maddest thing. And I think when you speak to most people, most fans, they say, no, VAR is a good thing. I speak with Robbie regularly. He was like, he agrees with keeping VAR. But I just think if it went, I wouldn't even be bothered. I don't think it would be too much of a detriment to football if it went. I really generally believe that.
You know what, Cecil? Good point you touched on there. And I don't want to relate this and bring it back to the game that we had on Saturday with Newcastle. But for me, I was listening to the after bit of what Arteta was saying. And for me, what's more worrying is that, yes, VAR had a massive influence on the game as well, but we were toothless up front on Saturday. Like, we're not creating nothing right now, and we're not creating as many big clear-cut chances as what we were doing last season. And for me, it all comes down onto him and certain things of why Arsenal aren't flowing the way how we should be. Like, obviously, the main elephant in the room, Kai Havertz. Who told you to spend 65 million on him? Like, come on. We all watched him for 3 seasons at Chelsea.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I think
it's
there's
just little
an element.
things like that.
Yeah, I think there's an element of deflecting from Arteta as well. After, I mean, he's probably not going to want to hear that. I think there might be Arsenal fans that don't want to hear that, but I think there's more anger coming from him because he knows, there was some decisions in there that he got wrong, and those players weren't great. But
I'll keep it real with you. I mean, Turkish. I think you saw some of my super chats yesterday.
Yeah.
I think the writing's on the wall now, man. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope Arsenal can win a trophy this season. But for me, yes, I'd love to win the FA Cup, but we've got to be going for the league this season, man. We've spent. This is his 4th season now. Like, December, come this month, will be 4 seasons he's had. We've spent near to 700 million, and for me, 1 or 2 signings, Rice and Timber, fine. Yes, Timber's a big blow, but the Havertz signing, I think it's going to come to a decision where I think he's going to down his sword by that, man. And I just think Arteta's taken us backwards. Me personally, I'll be real, I am Arteta out now because I've seen enough.
Rotted.
But for me, I just don't know where we're going to turn this around, man. I think there are levels that Arsenal can go up this season. But my brother's Liverpool, my younger brother, and he was saying to me that everyone says that there's levels and gears that Arsenal can go up this season, but if we can't keep our first 11 fit, with Partey, Jesus being injury prone, and then obviously Odegaard missing games every now and then, when you look at some of the players and Jorginho and Havertz, is there a case to say maybe we won't go up levels this season? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what you two think of that, though.
I think it's too soon to say taking us backwards, though. As much as sorry, as much as sort yourself out there, Ryan. As much as the concerns you have, I have the same concerns. I have the same concerns because we agree on the creativity, the fluidity, our attack looking blunt. None of our attackers are playing at the same level as they was last season. Probably closest to is a couple of times we've seen Jesus up top in the Champions League. Aside from that, Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Havertz has come in, not good enough. Vieira, Trossard, none of them. Well, actually, Vieira, he has been okay at times this season. But to know if he's taken us backwards, we won't know that until
he's taken us so far forward.
Until February, March at the very earliest, if not May.
Yeah.
I hear that, but you know what, Turks, one last thing before I come off. But my problem as well, I hear you on that point there, but in terms of our squad depth and the players that we have in our first 11, don't you think it's also worrying with the Newcastle? I won't lie, the Newcastle game on Saturday taught me a lot about Arsenal at the moment. If Saka and Martinelli aren't playing well, the covering behind is worrying, man. Like, if them two are not playing to the level that they should be, yes, we got Reece Nelson. You've given him a new contract. That's more worrying within itself, that you've given him a new contract and you're not even giving him a chance to play like an extra 20 minutes. Like, it's little things like that I'm looking at and I'm thinking to myself, I just think Arteta, the writing's on the wall for me. I pray I'm wrong and I hope Arsenal win the league this season, but I don't know, man. Okay. I'm worried. I'll leave it like that.
I'm worried about Havertz, that's for sure. Yeah. And Havertz is a big signing, so
yeah.
Well, I understand the concerns, but I think even if, let's say, you feel like that, Ryan, I don't even like. There's no point so early on in the season, because even if I say right now, all right, you get your wish and Arteta's gone before the Burnley game, and I ask you to pick a manager that comes in straight away, I'd pretty much assume that this season we're looking at as a write-off, if that's basically. So if it's a write-off, then we, even if you feel that way about Arteta, then surely we must wait till the end of the season to see if it is, if you was well within your rights to voice your concerns because they have, come out to light, or whether those concerns, which are, legitimate concerns right now, are fixed by Mikel over the, next few weeks, months, and we put in as good a title challenge, if not better, getting over the line this season.
Right,
no, I hear you on that. Listen, only time will tell, but for me, listen, it's January is going to be massive. For me, I feel like it's going to be hard to bring in players, but we need to bring at least 2 or 3 players. I hope we get Ivan Toney. We definitely need a centre forward. Whether I know we're looking at Sesko from RB Leipzig as well. I've been seeing reports on that, but a striker and a right winger and a midfielder. Those 3 areas in particular for me.
Yeah. Sesko's just signed for Leipzig though, so I don't even think those rumours are believable.
Yeah.
All right, well, listen, Ryan, thank you for joining us, my brother. Big up, man. Big up. We're gonna have another caller come on, but just there. Right. I get the concerns though, because after Newcastle, I felt the same.
The concerns are legitimate.
And Robbie was like, and to be fair, I think you have to wait, take some time and do think over it, because as much as I still have these concerns, and I'm gonna harvest them. You have to remember, it is still early on. It was our first defeat in the league. I understand. That's what he kept telling me. But I was like, these concerns, though, will rear its head coming forward. I can see it happening. So I know how this goes and how it plays out. So you can't be screaming. For me, you can't be screaming Arteta out there at this stage when, what he's done so much for this club so far. Yes, we've only won an FA Cup. But yeah, you can't. There's not another person to come straight in and change our trajectory, in my opinion, right now that's available as well. So Arteta out is a bit crazy. But also Ryan mentioned about, a solution to incompetence and the referees were having interviews and stuff after the game. Imagine that. I'd love to see you I'd love to see the refs have interviews and how you react to that, because they would end up becoming not personalities, but because for me, referees, I don't remember them. It's not, obviously through this work, we have to understand who we've got, who's refereeing the game. But before this, when I watched football, man, I didn't check who's refereeing the game and understand who they are, and then afterwards and hold grudges on these sort of refs. But if they started doing interviews and hearing their comments, I think you'd build more of an understanding of who these referees are, which I think can even go one way or the other, whether it's negative or positive. But I think referees get away with that. I think many fans just don't remember the referees. I don't think, like, for football, if they did something mad, you're going to hold that against, that's that player that did that. I don't think referees get that as much. So
they don't get that.
Yeah, so I think they get away with a lot of things, and they don't get held accountable for a lot of things. I'm gonna have to take a drink of my drink. But next caller, please.
Get a grip over there, man.
Hey guys,
I should be ill and out, boy. I should be rested.
What's wrong with this guy next to me, man?
Oh no, he's nearly choking up with the decisions he's trying to make there.
He's trying to get bare words out. He's choking. Just sip your drink, my guy.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you, man.
I can hear him. I just pulled out my mic. I'm all over the place.
Yeah, he's gone, man. Don't worry, I can hear you. Don't need him to
I can hear you now. Sorry, people.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
no worries. I think the first thing I would say is it's incompetence. It's not an agenda, really. I think the way to look at the whole referee thing, I think you need the audio, I think, between the refs and the VAR in game. I think that's the first thing you say. Like I've said it on my own podcast as well. Like it's crying out for that situation, because I think when they release the audio like a few weeks after the thing, it means nothing. It literally means nothing. I'd rather hear what the referees have to say with the VARs in game, so you know what decisions happening. Because especially when you're at a match, all you're seeing is literally just pause and play, and just you look at the screen, and the screen tells you exactly what's being reviewed. It doesn't tell you anything. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what the referees, they could be literally just having a general chat with each other nearly, with the way it goes on. But I think that's the first thing. But the other thing I want to touch on is, as I've said before on AFTV, like, remember, the English referees and the Italian referees are the only professional referees in the whole world that are professionally paid, and they don't have part-time jobs. Spanish referees, Dutch referees, German referees, a lot of them generally have part-time jobs as well.
Wow.
So they're not even doing refereeing as a full-time job. Yet the standard of refereeing by them is probably better than English referees right now. And the punishments for a referee having a poor game, oh yeah, next week they'll just drop down to the championship for a week and then we'll have you the week after. Like, there needs to be some sort of implementation that you need to review their whole license if they're making consistent errors, and that not, oh yeah, take a week or two off, you'll still get paid your salary, but you'll be back in a few weeks' time, or that. It's not really great. And I think the audio, just to see the audio side, we might disagree with the decision, but at least we're getting an open book. We can see what's happening. Like, I would have loved to have heard exactly what happened on Saturday at the match, because literally I'm sitting there looking at it and it's saying, oh yeah, they're reviewing the ball going over the line, or they're reviewing a potential foul, or they're reviewing the corner, but we don't know what they were saying to each other. And it's farcical, honestly, just seeing this week after week after week, whether it's happening to Wolves, obviously, whether it's happened to Liverpool, whether it's happened to Arsenal. It's just every week, not necessarily the same team. It's just football's become a joke, really, in England. And I think I would rather scrap VAR if this is going to continue, rather than just see every week issue after issue after issue after issue.
That's an interesting. I'm gonna have to put a poll in the chat in a second about, do people want to see VAR scrapped or stay? Just ask me this, Kian, just quickly, does it frustrate you when they say, the game's too big for these referees? Because I hear that quite a bit, like the big games, and they can't handle the pressure. But you just mentioned there, if this is their full-time job, like, you should the minimum you're going to expect as a referee in the Premier League is you're refereeing in a stadium full of fans. Like, you shouldn't be able to be swayed. And I feel like we get that a lot. The game's too big from the ref. There's a home advantage because they're getting swayed by the home crowd. That, for me, really infuriates me, because I see that as well. I watch Arsenal. I was at the Newcastle game, and I feel like the crowd did sway the referee then as well. He felt under pressure. But this is how that's ridiculous. That's like your main job role, like officiating big games, like, and you can't use that as an excuse.
Well, as I think Robbie said it, the other day, with Mike Dean coming out and saying, was it after you've retired now, obviously working for Sky, that he didn't send a friend of his to the monitor because he was worried there'd be a big reaction to it. Exactly. Like, if a referee's being told not to do that and not that, that's just disgraceful. Like, if a referee makes a mistake, you send him to the monitor and you say, look, there's a mistake here. This is what you need to do. You shouldn't care about the fans' reaction. They're protected enough anyway that they don't have to come out publicly after. They're kept separate. Exactly. So let them take the hit. That's what it is. You protect them enough anyway. And this is their professional job. Yeah. No matter me, if I'm doing a bad job in work, my manager's not going to say, "Oh, I'm not going to tell him he's doing a bad job." The manager will tell me I'm doing a bad job.
Yeah, it's the same in all our fields. Like, I think even here, like, you have to go on camera and present and you speak to. Like, I have a main job role, and if I don't do it, like, I have to do it. I don't feel under pressure. Yeah. If I have to do fan cams and there's a big crowd and I crumble, Robbie's gonna look at me and like, bro, what you did? Like, this is what you've been employed to do. Like, it's ridiculous. And I think I hate when people say, the game's too big for them. And I do want to quickly touch on just quickly, you said it's more incompetence than agenda. However, and I'm very much on that side as well. To me, it is incompetence. But is there an agenda to the big clubs, like the natural big six? Because I don't know what it is. I feel like when I watch, this sounds really bad, but just like the lesser games, I don't see crazy decisions. Maybe I might be wrong, but I don't see crazy decisions being thrown in the media. Maybe I think that, I don't ever see that going into the media and there's big conversations about
man.
They do,
yeah, man, 100%.
I would say
the big six clubs are talked about more in the media anyway.
Yeah,
that's true.
I would say there are certain clubs in the big six that have a lot more in their favour, i.e. Man City, in my opinion. I think Man City do get away with a bit more quite easily. Now, there have been decisions that have gone against them, don't get me wrong, but I think, like, the perfect example is the Kovacic thing. Won't get into it too much. That was one thing.
Yeah.
And obviously they've been given penalties here and there that maybe shouldn't have been penalties and that, but I do think that. And then obviously there are other clubs maybe elsewhere in the league. Like I think one team that's been really hit hard this season is Wolves. I think Wolves this season have had a lot of decisions happened just at the weekend, happened the weekend before, obviously against Manchester United as well. Like they've had a lot of stupid decisions go against them, and I just think that's going to happen with certain teams. But I don't think there's an agenda against clubs. It's just certain clubs have been very, very unlucky. But I wouldn't say there's an agenda against us for sure, because I think we have had one or two decisions potentially go in our favour as well in the season. But there have been a lot that have gone against us too.
Yeah, well, listen, thank you so much for joining us, Kieran, man. Big ups, always good to see you, man, and thank you, brother. It's good to see
worries.
you, man. Thanks,
cheers, lads.
Thanks for your input. The poll has just finished. We've got a new one in the chat. The original poll was, is Arteta right? Is it incompetence or agenda against Arsenal? 52% say incompetence, 24% say both, and 22% say it's an agenda. We've got some super chats as well. I just want to quickly flick through before we get into the last couple callers that are waiting. Simon Paul says, refs back each other so they don't want to overrule their mates. VAR needs specialists who are not on-field refs to create a separation of the two, which is actually a very good point there. And then Riot27_96 says, Cecil, don't worry, I'm feeling under the weather myself. Yeah, at the moment I'm going through it at the moment. But let's get into our next caller who's waiting in the wings. Mark. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, what's saying, man?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. We're good, Mark. How are you? Listen, what's your thoughts on this whole PGMOL, incompetence or agenda? Where do you stand? Is it time to potentially scrap VAR? Is it an agenda? Is it incompetence? Where are you at?
I think it's more incompetence than agenda, in my opinion, man. I think the game that we played, I think if we're going to leave it to the referees to get certain situations right, I feel like we're not deserving of the league. And I feel like it was a lot of circumstantial things that were happening during the game. So in terms of the foul on Gabriel, that's circumstantial in my opinion. I'm not sure if there was much to say that was foul. Whereas the Guimaraes challenge on Jorginho, I feel like that was the main thing that people should have kind of took to the PGML to complain, basically. So yeah. So
do you think Arteta was right and Arsenal right to go in on PGMOL? Are you stand with them as well? Or do you think, I
stand with him, but not for the reasons that he gave. So like what James was saying, James said something quite interesting about the reason as to why Arteta went there. I feel like the reason was wrong. So not to go for the circumstantial evidence, which was like the goal and everything else that was happening leading up to the goal. That was circumstantial in my opinion. Yeah. But the Guimaraes thing, that was definitely a foul. Like, that was a UFC move for them.
Yeah, it's crazy. The elbow was crazy.
Yeah.
Elbow was crazy. But even in yesterday's game, the kick out from Romero, and they just let that go by against the Chelsea. Yeah, the kick out. I think it's consistency that infuriates me the most. They can never get things make right decisions consistently. I mean, they consistently were wrong in both instances there by not awarding a red card for both things. But are you getting frustrated with this and with it within football? Do you think it's killing the game? The whole VAR and all this, or?
Yeah. So I think it is killing the game, but I feel like it's a human error thing.
Okay.
So there's a lot of other sports where their systems are more accurate and their systems are more tailored towards the game. And I feel like VAR is not fully tailored to the game in the right way for it to work, essentially. So if they work on VAR a bit more so that human error is less of an element, then it's better. But
all right, just quickly there, before we move on quickly, because we've got people waiting, but then, so you saying remove the humans? I just need to know where you think it's going.
I wouldn't say remove the humans. I would say like, have them have less of less. So like this game, for instance, like errors are gonna cost you points when it's like marginal 1% sort of between the teams, because Newcastle's a great team. So any little thing, any little decision that doesn't go in our favour, it will affect the outcome of the game. But I'm saying that maybe if you've got, naturally human beings are gonna make mistakes. So if you make it less of a thing where it's about the human making that decision in the first place, and more so about like the technology making the decision and the human being just needs to pick it up and that's it. More so about that. Then I think it runs a bit better than if it's human beings relying on like seeing things, and if they miss it, then it's a bit techie.
Yeah, all right. Well, listen, Mark, big up. Thank you for joining us, my brother. I appreciate you jumping on the call and giving your thoughts. Big up, man.
How's computers gonna clock a Guimaraes forearm though?
Yeah, because he basically agreed with what you just said. Computers make the decision, but then the humans pass on. But how they're gonna clock the elbow?
That's what I'm saying. There's things that computer, like how the computer gonna know what a dive is, or when someone's leaving there, like when Havertz went down against United. How's the computer gonna differentiate a dive between this? So really, the human element will never be taken out. It's just getting someone that's fucking been in a physical sport at the very least. You know, at the very least, someone who's done physical sport, like, you know, contact sport.
All right, you got me. You got me there.
Yeah.
Fair.
No worries.
That's a good. I don't know how long it took. It took you bare long time to think about it.
Thinking, man.
But you got me. So yeah, maybe humans have to have some sort of involvement in the future when it comes to officiating. Fucking, that took you time, but you got there. Let's bring the next caller in. Yes, mans.
What you saying, bro?
How are you, lads?
Well, I mean, I've been better. I'm a bit run down, but let's get into this conversation and just get your thoughts on it. PGMOL and where you stand.
I've had time to calm down since Saturday, and I haven't calmed down. So I don't know. It's very difficult. It's definitely incompetence. I think we can all agree on that. Yeah. Nobody's going to debate that it's incompetence. The agenda thing, I wouldn't say it's an agenda, but I would say that Arsenal Football Club seems to be at the very, like, all the time, it seems to be us that are suffering the worst of the, you know, the memorable decisions, like the ones that stay in your head.
Yeah.
Like the one against Brentford, we had the referee come out and say, "I'm sorry, I forgot to draw lines." Now we have the referee, like these kind of things. I mean,
even the Wolves one, Martinelli, the double yellow card to me sticks.
They're spread out.
Huh?
They're spread out.
They're spread out.
The memorable ones are spread out as well. It's not just Arsenal related.
No, it's not just Arsenal related. No,
it's not just Arsenal. The Liverpool one is probably the worst one I've seen in a while.
Yeah, well, I mean, Anana at the beginning of the season.
Oh yeah,
with the Wolves one. Rashford's goal against City last season, offside.
Yeah.
There's loads.
Listen, we have to drop the whole artificial intelligence thing. That's just impossible. It's too much of a human game for it to be, you know.
So scrap it completely. Scrap it completely.
No. I don't think VAR should be scrapped. I don't think VAR should be scrapped. There are just, I'm gonna do a tie now and go down the memory lane. But do you remember when we played Champions League against Liverpool, and Ryan Babel got fouled outside the penalty area, and they gave a penalty, which ultimately resulted in Liverpool going to semi-finals. I think that was the game where Walcott made that super run. If VAR existed, that would not have been a penalty. So you take VAR out now, these referees have even more excuses to blame it on the human factor and all this and that, and make even more errors. So no, I'm actually okay with VAR taking time. I'm okay with VAR taking, you know, like yesterday, adding 12 minutes to a half. I don't care about that. I don't even care about celebrations. I'm okay with celebrating when VAR gives the goal or when VAR doesn't give the goal.
Right.
Not celebrating. The only thing I'm not okay with is these referees have been given as much as humanly possible now, and they're making more errors than in the past. And I never, like, if you'd asked me years ago, like, we bring in VAR, if somebody told me they're going to make even more errors, I'd be like, how would that be possible? You got people down your ear saying, listen, we've just seen replays of this and that, I think it's a penalty. We've just seen replays of this, the ball has gone out. We've just seen, you know, what's his name? The guy who had the hands on the back of Gabriel. Yeah, that is a foul every day of the week. And they just always try to put it down to interpretation. And I know I'm not offering too many solutions here, but I'd probably go with scrap all these most of these referees, never have ex-referees in England in that bar room at Stockley Park. Because that's the way backwards. Now the way forwards possibly is what Turkish offered. Have some of these players, ex-players, you know, they used to play for Burnley, Blackburn, don't have Alan Shearer in the VAR room going into the Newcastle Arsenal game or something like that. But,
Yeah.
but put a Burnley ex-player, I don't know,
a Crawley Town ex-player in there. Yeah, Crawley Town ex-player.
Somebody who's played the game, you'll never get rid of bias, like, altogether. Never.
Yeah.
Because I think it's kind of like with referees. Some referees let the games go and flow. Others like to whistle every 5 minutes. They just see somebody down, they feel the pressure to whistle. So you're going to have that in the VAR room ultimately. But I think you're going to have a better outcome overall if you have ex-players in there. Not somebody as thick as Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. And I'm sorry I'm talking about them. I've lost all respect for them after what they've said after Saturday. It's clear what they're on about. But somebody, somebody from smaller clubs that have no issue, kind of thing, like with the big clubs.
Okay.
Where they'll narrow down the bias element, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody who used to play in the League 2, or somebody who used to play in the Championship, rather. Yeah. So I think that might be a solution. I don't really see too many other obvious solutions, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, listen, Mans, I appreciate you coming on and giving your solution.
Always.
I think that is going to be one that we're going to discuss as well. But thank you, man. It's always good to see you as well, my brother. Yeah.
Nice
Respect,
see you
man.
guys.
Thank you. I don't know why no one said Eagle Eye or my Hawkeye thing. Hawkeye, the 3D VAR as well. They're good solutions. Anyway, but let me just read some super chats before we get to our next call. Cr Naito says VAR basically worked at the World Cup, so the issue is quite simple, personal. Giuseppe Jones says all three refs to always go to the screen for a decision. All three refs to always go to the screen for a decision.
Personnel.
Did I say personal? Mm-hmm. English. Next caller. I think we've got Michael from Boston. Hello, Michael.
Michael, teach him some English, for fuck's sake.
I'm ill, man. You lot allow me, man. I need to be rested.
So I just want to point out that the complaints about VAR are often contradicting each other. That we're complaining that they don't get it right, and then we complain that it's taking too long. And it's like that old joke about ladies in a restaurant who say, the food here is terrible and such small portions, right? So all I'm saying is that I think VAR is exposing an identity crisis in the Premier League. That the Premier League loves to be the league that's more physical and faster, and that depends on sensible referees keeping their cards in the pocket and letting a lot of physical contact go that would be like whistled down in Spain or in Italy or in Germany. And that's fine. It's just that it leads to a huge amount of inconsistency that, like, Michael Oliver will let the Kovacic red card go because it's in the first half of a marquee game. But then you've got someone like Mike Dean in Stockley Park who says, oh, yeah, the foot touched the other foot in the penalty area, so it's a penalty. And I think the problem is that you have widely different referees with like different levels of fussiness about the interpretation of the rules. And so I think that we should give more power to the referee on the field. It's fine to say, okay, Michael Oliver, you are dictating the tempo of the game. If we're going to let the Havertz challenge go without a red card, then maybe you overlook the Guimaraes, like head smash on Jorginho. But when there's an incident like the Joe Linton push, what offends me about that is not that VAR isn't making the call. It's that they're not even allowing the referee to see back in, like, on video, something that he might have missed in real time. And I think that part of the solution here is that referees should be encouraged to stick with their ruling on the field after a review if they really think that they got it right the first time, because this is going to reduce the pressure on Stockley Park, that they're not going to shy away from sending him to the monitor because they think they're actually making the decision for him. And like, against Newcastle, if the ref had seen the Joel Linton foul and like actually said, no, in the context of the game, that is acceptable physical conduct, I would disagree with that, but it wouldn't offend me as much as the ref never even being shown the video to begin with. And that's all.
But isn't that the case already though, or am I mistaken? Because I'm sure I've seen, I don't think it was in England, but I'm sure I've seen a referee go to the monitor and go against changing the decision. I just think the refs in England have decided that every time they go to the screen, they're gonna go with the VAR decision over their own decision, whereas they could take some more accountability and ownership themselves, but they haven't, by passing that back on. So now anytime a referee goes to a monitor, the commentator says, we know what happens here, it's going to turn it around. That shouldn't be the case. It should be.
I agree. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And look, it's still permitted under the rules that the ref could reject the recommendation. I'm just saying that has to happen more so that VAR doesn't hesitate simply to assist the referee by showing him the video. And if the referee feels like he's got the power to say, no, I stick with my on-field decision, then we're not going to have these trolls in Stockley Park making the decision for us. That's all.
Mm-hmm. I get you, Mac.
I think you make good points there. Thank you, Michael, coming on and speaking so eloquently. And thank you for your thoughts, Michael, man. Hopefully we'll see you again soon on here as well.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Nice one.
Ledge. Got another caller waiting in the wings. Deanie, my brother,
Yes.
how are you? We spoke this morning.
Morning.
It's good to have you back on.
Very quickly. You see Belgium, he just needs to learn to let people chat, fam.
He had one of those.
He had one of those.
Yeah. I ain't gonna talk too much about it.
He had one of those, bro. Trust me, it was mad this morning. But anyway, different conversation. I know the conversation this morning was about can we reach, what we did last year or better it. But this one now is more towards officiating, the PGMOL, the VAR. Where are you at? I know, listen, competence or agenda, I think, are you leaning, obviously most people are leaning towards incompetence. Are you with that same mindset as well, that train of thought?
Yeah, I'd say it's like 90% incompetence and maybe even 10% not agenda but corruption.
Right.
I would say that much. Incompetence, we know with human error, and we've heard Mike Dean say, that's my brother and I'm not trying to put him under pressure and this, that and the other. And we've only heard him say that once, but it doesn't mean that hasn't happened.
Yeah, that happened.
Since, do you know what I mean? Because they don't necessarily have to come out and tell us really anything. You know what I mean? Because it can all happen behind closed doors, and you can just send out an apology, and it will just move on and this, that, and the other. But at the same time, with the incompetence, there are solutions. We know there are solutions, and it's about actually taking action, and that's why that's where the 10% corruption comes in, because controversy gets views. Whether you like it or not, it gets attention, it gets clicks and this, that and the other. And that's why obviously we can't prove that. We can never prove that unless you're in a room where it happens. That's why when it's agenda and corruption, you don't really go there because you don't really have substantial evidence. But what you do have is solutions. Like, for example, Eagle Eye. You got the semi-automated offsides in the Champions League. You've got what have you got in tennis?
This is what I'm saying.
You can challenge a referee. You can have challenges in a decision. You can have an independent body in there. You've already said that you could have a player in there. You could have someone that is like the equivalent of Ben White, who doesn't like football but is good at his job at the same time, and put him in there and be like, okay, that's another independent body that can say to this assistant VAR and the main VAR person in the room, okay, you lot made your decision. This is my final thing. And maybe it comes from him, maybe, or her. Yeah. I'm not sure. But there are solutions, but why they're not being done, that is the question.
Is that going back to your corruption then? Because I think you're right. I think there's enough solutions here to definitely try all these things. Or there's definitely solutions. It just doesn't seem like they're looking to try and implement or trying to fix what seems to be not working in
the ex-player thing is the most key thing for me. Because,
really?
Yeah, because you can't learn what it feels like to take part in contact sport. You can't learn that. You can't read that. And you can't watch it and think you know. Yeah, when you play it, you know that certain collisions with someone else's body doesn't necessarily mean a foul. You know that certain, movements.
It's the experience you can't back.
But 100%. I think Hawkeye and the offside technology they use in the World Cup, I think that's, for me, so much more consistent and so much more. I fight for that more. Okay. I think that gets the correct answer over. Listen, I expect
That's
that. I want
more for offsides and stuff like that.
yeah.
When I'm more talking about like the Joe Linton thing, for example, or the Bruno thing, or the Havertz thing.
Yeah, there's no other way to gauge it.
An ex-player will know what it's like to be on, both sides of that, either the tackle or the elbow. They'll know. Was it really, or was it part of the game to a certain, playing the line a little bit?
Yeah.
A player knows that much more than some professional. I don't know how these men are professional referees. What do you have to do to be take a theory test or something?
Honestly, this is why this conversation is so key. Even just to back you up on that, yesterday Tottenham Chelsea, when Romero tried to clear that ball and followed through, and Gary Neville said, I know. As a player, he knows what he's doing. It's not I think to professional refs, they'll just be like, it's just a natural action, but it's not. And I know as well as a player, he could have laced the ball and cleared it, but he went with his side foot studs up, and he knew he was following through. So that is key information, and not an everyday person who hasn't been a footballer would know that that was intentional what he was trying to do, even though it ended up being the right decision in the end. But that could have been given straight away. So I hear
even
both
the
sides.
follow through thing, that is like, that has been completely eradicated. Yeah, but that, for me, a follow through is like when you're going to make a challenge, especially like let's say a sturdy challenge. Yeah. You're gonna follow through.
But
it shouldn't be a red card. But
the way he did it though was intentional though.
Intentional is different. But I'm saying the follow through nowadays is deemed straight away a red card. But the reality is, it's not necessarily a red card all the time. You're putting players off even going in for a 50-50, and that is partly ruining the game in itself.
Yeah. Because the Havertz challenge was a follow through, but I don't think I don't think personally. Listen, it's an amber. Everyone keeps saying, is this an amber? It's not. I don't think it's a red, but there was a follow through. But I don't think it was intentional, like he was trying to hurt the player. It was a bad challenge in my opinion, but that's because he was going for the ball. But the one with Romero yesterday, and this is not my bias. I know he could have he knew what he was doing, and anyway. Go on, Dini.
Because I think because with those challenges, in a sense, it's just the result of it. What actually happens does the player get injured or not, and that's where it really comes down to at the end of the day if it's going to be a red card. Well, actually no. Maybe I'm even contradicting myself, because even just going into footage when you catch a player or not can be equivalent to a red card anyway.
It's a murky line there, because Udogie went two-footed.
And that's what it comes to with what Turkish said earlier in the stream about the rules are so blurred now.
Yes,
they're like, it's all so intricate, and it's like, what is a bad challenge, or what is offside, or what is a handball, or what is assault, even though it's like a forearm. Like, no one actually knows what is going on right now. And it just adds to this conversation. It keeps this conversation going. It keeps this ticking. It keeps making money. It keeps eyes on everything. And that's where I think that 10% of corruption may come from. But at the end of the day, there are solutions. Whether they want to take them or not, it's up to them. But we're still going to talk about it anyway, because it's affecting our game. I think as fans, if anything, this is another solution. As fans of Premier League clubs, don't turn up to games. Affect them in their pocket. Because at the end of the day, we have the power. Whether they like it or not, even though we're not in the room, we do have the power. The fans stop the Super League from happening, for a revolt, for protesting and this, that and the other. If they just said, we're not going to go to games because we don't want to waste our money to see these continuous decisions happening, maybe that might be a thing.
Wow, I'm sorry, you just got me thinking about, imagine the whole fans revolting against a ref, like as soon as before the game or the game starts, they're just, I don't know, it's a weird...
Not the ref, the Premier League.
Oh, the Premier League, yeah, but that's why not turn up to games. But I still think... Okay, that's an interesting one. But again, there's solutions.
I wouldn't gang up on a ref. That's mad.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So my mind went to a whole different place. But Dini, but thank you, bro, because this is what this live was about. Was just hearing from people and seeing if there is solutions. And you kind of touched on it there. And I think throughout this whole live, we've had callers come on. There is solutions. Whether the big corporations like the Premier League will look to take them on, probably doubtfully they won't. I doubt they will, sorry, but it is a shame because there is solutions definitely available to them. But thank you, my brother, for joining us, and especially for joining me this morning, and also coming back here as well to join us on the stream, man. It's all love, Dini, man.
Every time, man. Bro,
big up, love. Take care, man. Take care. So this one's it's a funny one. We kind of don't want to call it, so thank you everyone that got involved, and please continue to join us on FANZONE. But I do want to wrap up. It's frustrating me, because the beautiful game that I loved is changing, and I always thought it was for the better. And while we had this conversation, Turkish, like you was thinking about the human thing, about it maybe being eradicated in the future, and you're saying it can't be. I was thinking about, like, you see when VAR come in, was the game really broken? It must have been, but I don't remember it being so broken that this was screaming out to be included.
Not like this, no.
Yeah, this is, because I feel like that's the only thing I kind of want to end on. Was it so broken that it needed all of this? And yes, it might have needed some change, but it feels like it's got worse. So the change that we were screaming out for me, hasn't improved the games. And I believe there is solutions to get us back on track. I don't think it'll ever be perfect, and the way that
Never know.
No, I don't think it was ever going to be the way that we expected VAR or all this technology to improve the game. I don't think we'll ever get to that stage. But the solutions, I just don't know why they're not being looked at. But listen, this has been a whole debate and healthy conversation on PGMOL and incompetence of refs and VAR or agendas. So thank you everyone again that's joined us. Turkish, thank you for joining me, and yeah, big up everyone that got involved and people in the comments as well. We see you. We'll be back very soon. Obviously tomorrow is match day, so join us for all the build up for the game. It's Arsenal versus Seville at home. Let's hope Arsenal can demolish them and we stay comfy at the top of our Champions League group and we bounce back from what we saw on the weekend. Big up everyone. Continue to watch all the content. There's plenty coming out for the rest of the day, and we'll see you again either tonight or tomorrow. Take care.